God does not take into account a person's faith, independence as to whether they're going to go to heaven or hell. Because faith isn't what matters. It's actions that matter. That is what I believe. I believe that a true God, not a true righteous God, or a true unrighteous God, but a true God, an entity that can reach godhood, is not going to be swayed by whether someone believes in them or not. Because that would be narcissism. And a God-like entity would probably be beyond narcissism. I believe a God will judge us based off of our best understanding of what being righteous would be. I do not believe that God feels that humans are the ultimate thing in this universe. I believe that is a human thing. I believe that God has communicated to each species throughout this dimension, multiverse, whatever you want to call it, universe, multiverse, whatever. If he exists, then he has communicated that he exists on some level, okay? But I don't believe he judges us based off of whether he believes that we believe he exists. Because I don't believe a God could be so narcissistic as that. So self-centered, self-idealistic. I mean, if any human felt the exact same way about other people, we would have him committed. So why are most humans willing to accept that a godlike entity, an omega level entity, would feel the same way? It does not make logical sense that we would judge humans differently and have them condemned to some sort of hospital, but be so willing to accept that God would be the same way. Now, I am not saying that God doesn't exist. What I am saying that if God does exist, your opinion of him, your interpretation, is doing him a great disgrace. Whether you're a Mormon or any sort of Christian or, most other religions. I can't claim to know what all religions believe because I don't fairly know. But most Christian religions that I've been raised with or experienced with, most of the religions I have had experience with, especially the LDS, have a very self-centered and narcissistic view of God, but don't seem to realize it, but are more than willing to see it in those around them. They're more than willing to see someone who thinks of their own well-being, who wants people to be their friend, and rather than them be their friend, who would rather be the one who makes the friendships, who has people look to him rather than him looking to them as being the leader of their sort of groups. That's what a lot of people see in God. Okay. I believe the proper view of God would be that he doesn't prefer one people over the other people based off of faith. Okay? I don't believe faith actually plays a role in it, because not everyone will believe in the same thing in regards to him. And I believe he is not that petty. It just doesn't make sense. If a God exists, it just doesn't make sense that he would be that petty. It really doesn't. Think about it. An omega level entity, the entity that created everything. And he gets bogged down or held back by how people believe in him. It just doesn't make common sense, logical sense, or any sort of sense other than what you want, what you fantasize, what you wish it to be about. Okay? I mean, set aside your personal beliefs and your spiritual beliefs. I'm not telling you to abandon. I'm just telling you set them aside for a moment and think about logic. If you don't pretend you were God, but imagine what it might be like to be that kind of entity, that kind of power. And tell me, what and how would you feel? How would you want things to be? I don't want you to put yourself in the place of God, but I want you to imagine yourself the pressure that God would have. And I want you to try and put yourself in that role. The role of having to care about everything. The role of having to be responsible for everything, no matter how small or how big it is. And tell me that all you would want for your creatures wouldn't just be all that you would want for everything you created, whether it be alive in the human sense or be alive in God's sense, meaning who knows, the smallest thing in existence that we may have not discovered could be alive in God's sense. That's what I'm saying. Who knows? Try and put yourself in his position. And ask yourself how much everything mattered to you that you've done in your life, no matter how small or how big it was. Ask yourself, did a scribble you were drawing at the time that you were drawing it, say 3 years old, on a piece of paper or on the wall, whatever, did it mean a lot to you at that moment as much as potentially? Don't consider this in regards to what you've forgotten since you've grown up, since you don't remember, but just imagine what something feels like that you do now. Something you write, a thesis, a report, a business proposition, no matter what it is, ask yourself, does it mean just as much as what probably you did when you were younger meant to you? And I'm going to tell you that no matter what you remember, the likely answer is that your 3, 4, or 5-year-old self cared just as much about what they did when they were 3, 4, or 5 as you do when you're 60 years old. The only difference is your age and understanding. A young person is still a person. An old person is still a person. Oftentimes we forget that a child is just as much as a human and just as much struggles with their thoughts and feelings as an older adult person, only because we forget what it was like ourselves to be a child. It's unfair. And I know I sort of switched subjects, but my point is, man, is that we need and have to be willing to see each other as all being alive, be it a bug or a human, because in God's view, that's how he's gonna see us if he is a God and does exist. There is no way that an ultimate being, an omega level being, an alpha, I think it would be, an alpha level being wouldn't see things in a point of view that would mean evil doesn't matter to him as well as good. Only what was fair. If I did right by you, more than... Okay, start that again. If I did more right in my life than I did wrong in my life, that's all that matters. Not my faith in somebody. If Jeffrey Dahmer or Hitler, which doesn't seem likely, but did more right by God's judgment than he did wrong, I believe that's what they'll be judged upon, which means that, as disturbing as it might be to me and to many others, both Hitler and Jeffrey Dahmer could be in a version of heaven that God views as what they've earned. I don't believe God will be limited to 1, 2, or 7 realms. You know? I believe God probably could recreate each of our souls, which kind of invalidates many things. But I mean, he is God. You know, and I am sure that he didn't stop with just us. That it continues on with the narcissism to think that, you know, God created us and he's just going to wait to see what we do. Well, what about after? What about after humans have managed to wipe themselves out and God has lived his experiment? Stop with the narcissism, humanity. As soon as you can cut that crap off, I promise you'll be able to do better off. Everybody. And I mean it, man. I believe everybody will be better off without being narcissistic. I'm not saying don't believe in God, that's the answer. I'm saying don't think you're the most important thing in the universe. You have changed the translation and meaning of the Bible so many times that even I don't that sounds self-centered. It sounds self-directive, you know? But what I meant is, you've changed it so much that pretty much nobody can understand what it says anymore. And so that tells me there is zero chance of a true God judging me based off of what I've learned in the Bible, because it's no longer being said the way he said it. Which sort of makes me wonder, and this is narcissistic, if God is speaking to me in some way. If God is telling me how it should really be, how it's supposed to be, how a God, would actually be. And if he is, unfortunately, unless he can, boom my mind in a way that is not drug-related, I can't trust my own opinion because I know it's influenced. And that sucks because it's so believable, it's so understandable, it's so logical that it hurts to know that I'm intoxicated, and that means that anything I have to say is null and void. No matter how good it is, how positive, how helpful it could be, it's automatically worthless. Why can't we as humans come to the same kind of logical conclusions when we're not intoxicated, when we're not inebriated with marijuana? Hi, God, I don't know why I couldn't just say it. Part of me feels ashamed because I know that I was raised to believe that's not how I should feel. But I'm starting to believe that feeling this way helps me understand things in a way that most people incapable of, but mostly because I believe most people are capable of. So mostly, most people are unwilling to hear what I have to say and believe it. Because what I've said means that each of us truly have to take a look at ourselves and hold ourselves accountable for everything. And understand that just asking for forgiveness doesn't actually mean we're forgiveness. We have to do better with ourselves once we recognize that we've made a mistake. That's the only forgiveness we have. And if we don't manage to do better with each mistake we do make, that's what I think earns us damnation. As insightful as that sounds, I am still convinced that I have managed to do worse and think worse than I will ever be able to help. But in the chance that I am wrong and God does exist, it makes me feel just a % better knowing that I tried, even if it doesn't make a difference. But if what I did say does make a difference to somebody, and it does help them become a better person ultimately, then this was worth it to me. Because then I will have helped other people that I will never even know. Not just the one person that found inspiration in what I said, but the people that found inspiration in how he acted or she acted or what they did, and then it will just continue on. And I'll know it's because of, I won't know, but it will be because of something I did, whether I know it or not. In my heart, though, man, I haven't created, done, or participated in anything that will accomplish that. And that's what destroys me. So I hope somebody can do it. Anybody, man. Even if God doesn't exist, I hope my words can help someone, even if it's help someone else. I just hope I make a difference in a good way.
Don't be a bitch, dude. Let me get my smoke on.